other people speak for me when I also had an opinion. And I hate it when people say, oh, I don't know if you know, but, and then say something that is very obviously common sense. These experiences make me feel patronized because people make it look like they are helping me, but it's only for them to gain some sort of feeling of superiority, and in actuality they are looking down on me. These experiences can be labeled as infantilization. According to the Oxford Dictionary, infantilization is to treat someone as a child or in a way which denies their maturity in age or experience. In this speech, I'm going to explore how infantilization can be weaponized against people, but can also be used to infantilize oneself to escape accountability. The infantilization of women, for example, is socialized in almost every outlet in society. In Chelsea Hewitt's thesis about how infantilization in language affects society, she writes how gender stereotypes manifest everywhere. From advertisements, magazines, TV shows, and social norms, women are almost always portrayed as submissive, naive, and innocent. And this delicate way of acting is culturally expected, and therefore other personalities are stigmatized. It was found that when women violate this feminine stereotype, they often receive lower evaluation ratings in the workplace compared to their male counterparts who aren't subject to the same stereotype. And these double standards alienate women, and even if they don't want to, they are forced to comply out of fear of opposition. The narrative is especially clear in modern pop culture. In Tavisha Sood's article about how infantilization of women in mainstream media and society, it's noted that the way women are posed or dressed in media are tied inextricably to fragility and infantility. And these infantile concepts are common in things like Vogue magazine or Victoria's Secret, where their lingerie fashion shows are filled with bras and panties bedazzled with teddy bears and glitter, which romanticizes innocence, but more so resembles clothing styles of children. This not only pressures women to conform to these juvenile standards in the name of beauty, but basically sexualizes traits of prepubescent girls. The portrayal of women as babies creates a perception that they need to be coddled and cared for. It creates a perception that their maturity levels are lower, and therefore, to protect them, it's better to have them do light work, like working as a housewife. And this ultimately deprives women and other minorities from respect and being treated as if they're capable. Now, in the status quo, there has been substantial development from stereotypes in the past, but it's important to recognize the roots of these prejudices and how they might manifest in conversations in everyday life. However, infantilization can also have much more dangerous impacts. I read an article from Al Jazeera that described the white man's burden, which is a radical and extreme belief adopted by colonizers who believe white people are saviors that need to save people of color from their barbaric behavior. And because of this burden, many people believe that they are justified in westernizing other cultures because they can convince the public that this is heroic. This is also the reason why a lot of tribal stereotypes in movies paint these people as primitive, who lack rationality. Like the Oompa Loompas who were saved in a jungle by Willy Wonka. The original Oompa Loompas were actually based off of African pygmies. So if you think about it, it's really, really messed up that Wonka has these little men who sing songs joyfully while being his factory workers. Another example of this is the early 1900s phrase, little brown brother, for Americans to refer to Filipinos. While brother may seem like they are calling Filipinos family, little and brown are minimizing them. So painting these people as barbaric infantilizes them, because it paints these people as unsophisticated, that their cultures are primitive. And because there is a notion that these people are incapable of self-governance, colonizers think that they need to take care of these communities and teach them better, more Western ways of living. They do this almost like a parent teaching a little baby the right way to do things. And this creates a power imbalance between these communities, because colonizers paint themselves as the superior and benevolent guardian. Infantilization therefore serves as a mechanism to wipe out culture and pride within these colonized countries. It serves as an instrument to bring Christianity to people because their religions aren't good enough. It serves as an excuse to commit the worst, most violent, most visceral crimes on the global south and fostered a lot of hateful sentiment towards their way of life that still exists today. Another problem, however, is that marginalized communities don't only suffer from being infantilized, they also suffer from their oppressors infantilizing themselves. This can be seen when the Associated Press reported on 2 different murders. One was Michael Brown Jr., a black 18-year-old that was shot to death by a police officer. Another was Peyton Gendron, a white 18-year-old that shot up a supermarket and brutally killed 10 people. Despite the black victim being 18 and the white perpetrator also being 18, the black victim was called a black man, but the white perpetrator was called a white teenager. So this example is a clear image of how black people are adultified and therefore are perceived to be more aggressive and less deserving of sympathy. Lovey Ajayi-Jones, a Nigerian-American author, wrote a blog post about white fragility and white innocence as an excuse for white people to escape accountability. She wrote, "White women tears are especially potent and extra salty because they are attached to the symbol of femininity. These tears are pouring out from the eyes of the one chosen to be the prototype of womanhood, the woman who had been painted as helpless against the whims of the world." Is this perception of white innocence, or just people claiming that they're too fragile to do anything wrong? Where people shift the blame from themselves to other people, regardless of who insinuated the conflict? I'm not saying that white people get away with absolutely everything. And I'm not saying that people always lack critical thinking so they can't see when people infantilize themselves. But I'm saying there's a clear pattern in the world where people infantilize themselves to stop problems from being fixed, to stop conversation from happening, and that is something we need to recognize. So how do we solve this? It's going to be tough to eliminate prejudice that is structurally ingrained in our subconscious social perception of people, especially because those perceptions are learned from childhood. But the first step is recognizing infantilization and disavowing the offensive narratives that have it, disavowing infantilizing media and disavowing infantilizing insults that people say. In doing so, we can nuance the discussions in social movements by recognizing prejudices that affect minorities. We can acknowledge the crimes of colonizers and how they socialized a norm of looking down on people of color. And conversations about infantilization don't only have to stick to very serious conversations about radical things that maybe doesn't affect you. But maybe you can also relate to the feeling of being patronized and overlooked by other people. As a developing society, we need to break out of old discriminatory dogma. But to do that, we need to recognize infantilization and how it constructed those very beliefs. Thank you.